All right, hey folks. So Brian, John Thomas, Brian of London, and I, we missed it on Thursday, and Brian, not such a big deal because there really hasn't been much in the news.
Nothing's going on.
You know, and again, I'm sure this week will be quiet as well. Who's coming here? Who's coming here? Is it Aerosmith? Oh no, that was last week.
Aerosmith were here. And
Aerosmith were here.
No, I can't think of anybody. Who would be coming?
By the way, did you see Aerosmith, Steven Tyler show up at the Cotel with?
I know, and just run into the new American ambassador. I like that.
I mean, and you know what I want to say? First of all, I know I'm on the outs with this. I'm not a fan of the American ambassador. I know everyone's saying like, oh, but he loves Israel. He's pro-Israel. He gave money to Beit El and things like. I mean, he's got to prove himself to me, and he didn't prove himself in his first trip to the Cotel because he got there and he said something that was one of my biggest pet peeves. He said the Cotel. I came here to the Cotel because it is the holiest place in the world for the Jewish people.
Long trip. We're a bit tired, but we wanted to come straight to the holiest place in the entire Jewish world, the Kotel HaMaravi, the Western Wall.
No mention of the Temple Mount. The Kotel, for those of you who are listening, the Western Wall is not the holiest place in the world for the Jewish people. It is the retaining wall of the Temple Mount, which was the center of our civilization. It was a religious, cultural, and governmental center for our culture here for thousands of years. And what was happened after Muslim invasion in the 7th century came, destroyed it after the Romans destroyed it, and the Christians built a church on it, and the Muslims destroyed the church and built their own mosque. And the only thing that the Jews had left to kind of sneak to in the dark of night was this little retaining wall that held up the Temple Mount, and that became the holiest place that we could get to because it was the closest place that we could get for thousands of years. Correct. Now we control that area, but
we can get a little bit closer, and I mean we can get to closer, but we're not allowed to pray there because we've accepted Jordanian sovereignty over the Temple Mount for some reason.
Right. And even so, the most disturbing thing last week. So first of all, David Friedman, and everyone's like pro-Israeli, so Israeli, this is the guy. This is Trump's bankruptcy lawyer. Right? He's like, what Jews do I know that like Israel? Well, your bankruptcy lawyer likes Israel. And I mean, you just think like, what a scummy job. No, it's like
isn't.
Let me help his job.
Like
tell me if I'm wrong.
Tell
me if I am wrong.
Has been made.
His job is to how to allow rich people to pay other people less because they declare bankruptcy. So basically what Donald Trump did was he took a risky thing. He hired all of these people. He had, I think there were 8 bankruptcies. Each one of them is him trying something. Right? He doesn't lose any money on it. And he has this guy, the real kind of, I mean, if you had to pick a stereotype of a Jew, the shyster lawyer guy, this is David Friedman, who goes out and says, okay, Donald Trump owes you plumber. He owes you window installer. He owes you roofer. He owes you $50,000. I'll get you $5,000 and we'll call it a day. That's who this guy is. So this, as far as a person, and then he comes here.
This is okay.
And
I don't want to go into a whole.
I'm just saying. It's not saying that he might not be great. I'm just saying he has to live up to it. He didn't in that first meeting. That and showing up with Steven Tyler, seeing them both of them together. Steven Tyler.
Look, the New York Times, and all the others have been saying holiest site for years. Every time they do it, camera or somebody sends them a letter, and then they publish a tiny little thing saying, "Oh yeah, we forgot." Not, but onto the bankruptcy thing. You know what? It's his career, it's his profession, it's a necessary part of the system that we live in. Without bankruptcies, without allowing people to try new things, you know, this is called what Schumpeter called the the gale of creative destruction. Not everything works in a business setting. Trump's had more hits than misses. So,
and innovators have to be allowed to take risks. I'm not knocking the thing. I'm not saying it makes him Hitler. I'm just saying it speaks to his character. There is a certain kind of person that will figure out who you can pay the least. He works. His job is to work for very wealthy people who have and to minimize the loss of the wealthy person. I'm sure he has a lot of poor clients. His job.
It's also to maximize whatever's left.
Right. No. His job is to minimize the loss to someone like Donald Trump by maximizing it to the little people who are doing the working. That's his job description. I'm not saying that makes him a bad person. I'm not saying that would even make him a bad ambassador to Israel. I'm saying like everybody else Trump has taken, he has just picked people. And we could go back and we could talk about the whole week. Brian, you and I have been going back and forth with Trump for the last year and a half now.
Best to wait and see what happens.
But this you have to admit, this was the worst week he had after. I mean, you talk about a clown show.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, it's next week. It's Sunday. I'm saying last week. I'm not saying this week can't be worse. I think this week probably will be worse. I'm saying last week.
Well, today I'm waiting for something big today. I don't know. You know what? This is the problem with the news media that we have. I want to know what time Trump is speaking today about Islam. I can't find this. Everybody's got a schedule that says it's happening today. Nobody says what time it is. Drives me crazy. Anyway, I'll carry on searching. Hopefully I'm not missing it.
I want to see it live. I want to sit, pop some popcorn and sit in my bomb shelter and watch
with my Quran
watch Donald
and
Trump
see what he says.
Watch Donald Trump explain to Muslims in Mecca what's wrong with Islam.
Not in Mecca. He's not in Mecca. He can't go to Mecca. He's not allowed to go to Mecca. No. You cannot go to Mecca. You are an infidel, a kuffar.
All right.
You are not allowed in Mecca.
He actually really is. He actually really is a kuffar. Oh my God.
Good.
So, all right. So let's talk about this.
Kuffar pride.
Just first of all, let's cover last week. Do you agree that it was a shit show? Do you agree that there was no real positive way to spin it? The week started with Donald Trump firing the guy who was in charge of running the investigation. What's that?
Nutjob Comey.
He fired Comey last week.
Good.
I'm not a fan of Comey.
And the entire Democratic Party has been calling for him to be fired for 6 months.
No one
and the
cares.
day he gets fired, suddenly he's a hero.
Because he didn't fire him because he was incompetent.
You can't point out hypocrisy.
It's not hypocrisy. There's no hypocrisy in this, Brian. There's zero hypocrisy because no one cared that he fired Comey because Comey was Comey. He fired Comey. And Donald Trump said this. He fired Comey because he said, I'm sick of him investigating this Russia thing. So this was the guy. He didn't fire. Do you really believe?
I don't think
you think he fired him. You think he fired?
Listen, the Russia thing is ridiculous.
What?
I think we're all going to see it's ridiculous. You might want to check that you're not over modulating. Just technical little throw in. I
might be overmodulating. By you saying that it's the Russia
thing. On the Russia
thing. Nothing.
There's nothing there.
Nothing.
He's not running the investigation anyway. He's the head of the FBI. This is a much higher level than the day-to-day running of the investigation. And as the deputy, who's no fan of Trump either, has come forward and said, no, nobody's tried to interfere with that investigation. That investigation can carry on. It will find nothing. I am sure of that. And as Dershowitz said, and really I don't like agreeing with Dershowitz very often, but Dershowitz said, if you can find me this, even if Trump colluded with the Russians, whatever that word means, to get elected, there doesn't appear to be a law broken unless it's about campaign financing. And, he really spent so little money on his campaign, in comparison, especially to the $2 billion that Hillary failed with. So what does it mean that he colluded with the Russians? I've got a big theory. Here's my big theory. You take this. This is a big picture thing. I think Russia, post-Soviet Union, post-communism, it's become obviously an oligarchy and with a sort of a hint of democracy, but it's Christian. It's gone back to a Christian root. And
you think Putin is a Christian?
With that comes some. No, I don't know what Putin is, but the country itself has got an underlying value system that is Christian. Now, that might lead them to persecute gays a bit more than the progressive left would like, or so on. But it's a big Western. It's got the underlying value system of Christianity, and that's got the underlying value system of Judaism. And I think Trump is trying to put together Russia, America, little Israel, all fighting in this civilizational war to stop Islam taking over Europe. The Europeans seems to have given up and fallen into their proleptic dhimmitude, as in they've become dhimmis under Islam in advance of needing to. And that's the big picture I see. Now, whether that means that he colluded with them to get elected, I don't really know. I think it's highly unlikely. I think
it's highly unlikely
Putin would prefer
as well.
Trump.
I think it's highly unlikely that he thought anything through that much. I think it was that.
Exactly.
I think for sure, beyond any shadow of a doubt, what we know is that a foreign adversarial government interfered with the United States election.
What? In what way?
Releasing
what
the
way? The
WikiLeaks emails. The WikiLeaks emails.
Okay, now the whole story around Seth Rich is bubbling under. Kim.com says he's going to know. Listen, if the DNC hacked, all it exposed was that the DNC was in the tank for Hillary and that Bernie Sanders never had a chance.
But who was it exposed by? Who was it exposed by?
Who did the exposing?
Who did the exposing?
Look, I've been playing with computers all my life. I did a nice video about WannaCrypt last week that lots of people like. By far and away, whenever you look at one of these sort of massive exposures of data dump, by far and away the easiest and most likely way that it happened is that an insider took a thumb drive, looking around for one, a thumb drive, stuck it in a computer and copied everything onto it and then posted that to WikiLeaks. That's by far and away the most likely. There are tons of other unlikely ways.
Do you know who disagrees with you? The entire intelligence establishment of the United States.
And that would mean something if the DNC had allowed the FBI to look at their servers, which they didn't. They gave it to a bizarre company called CrowdStrike, who have got huge connections to
So you're saying there might be no Russian hacking whatsoever?
I might be a guy called Seth Rich, who was an absolute diehard Bernie fan and loved panda bears. And it might have been him who had access to the entire DNC email system, put his USB drive in, took all of them out, gave that to WikiLeaks, and then got shot twice in the back in Washington, didn't die, got taken to hospital, died later in hospital. There's no footage from any of the security cameras around where he was shot.
The conspiracy theory stuff here.
That's not a conspiracy. That is more likely than Putin ordering his army of bizarre Russian hackers to specifically target the DNC, not to target the RNC.
Or maybe they couldn't get into the RNC.
If they've got, or maybe the RNC just doesn't have anything to hide. Because I tell you what, if the RNC has got anything, all it will show is that they were trying like hell to stop Trump. Okay. And they failed.
So why did Trump fire Comey?
I think because Comey politicized the investigation of Hillary Clinton's emails. I think that
he was doing it to protect his friends because he was offended at what happened to his friend Crooked Hillary.
Comey is also problematic. Comey, you know where?
By the way, that's not what Trump said.
Before
Trump
he was at the
actually
FBI?
said afterwards. That's when Trump sent his minions out to try and cover this up, which is what he does. He says something absolutely crazy, then he sends his squirreling minions out there to Kellyanne Conway, Sorrat Barbie, and Spicer to go out there to talk to the press. They said something different. They said, well, they fired him because of the assistant attorney general said to fire him. What are we going to do? We got to. And then Trump came on TV afterwards and said, no, I fired him because I did not like what he was doing with the Russia investigation. These are Trump's own words.
There are many reasons not to like Comey. His background.
There are many reasons not to like Comey.
Talks about
There's many reasons not to like him.
Comey came from HSBC, the bank. And
there's reasons not to like him, Brian.
I'm
I'm with you on that. I'm saying the president of the United States was under investigation. Major members of his campaign were under investigation, whether it's true or not. What is true is they were under investigation.
I don't think that investigation is stopped or hindered by changing the head of the FBI.
It depends who.
There is
it depends who you put in the FBI.
Which will
it depends who runs the FBI. What do we know? Jared Kushner could be running the FBI next week.
It's not going to happen. And I mean, what I would hope is that they pick someone from inside the FBI rather than these drop-ins. I don't like Mueller, by the way. He's got a hugely problematic background because he oversaw the FBI during the time when basically they changed the whole way that you could talk about Islam within the U.S. system. So they stopped talking about Islamic terrorism and they started talking about countering violent extremism. And they took Islam out of all of the textbooks and all of the instructional material.
Well, that was Obama.
Which they try and train FBI on what to look. That was an idiot.
That was a dumb thing to do. That was, and we're in agreement on that. I'm not saying. I'm not saying Donald Trump is the only one that does dumb things. I'm just saying the only things Donald Trump does is dumb. That's just,
Yeah, well.
All right, so this week, so right now, as we speak, like you pointed out, Donald Trump is in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Big hit there. At least he's among friends.
I watched that. Yeah. I watched The Arrival. I don't think he's among friends. I think he holds a deep resentment and a deep suspicion of Islam.
All right. I'm going to give credit. I'm going to give
Arrival.
A piece of credit. I was proud of Melania and Ivanka for not covering up their hair when they came off that plane. That gets kudos in my book.
Okay, let's keep this on the Jewish and Israeli thing. That get out of jail free card, you can fly on the Shabbat and travel on Shabbat. That's ridiculous. That is ridiculous. Look, either you're Orthodox or you're not. Either you're following this stuff or
I don't know.
You're not.
I think
it's
a different thing. First of all, technically, as long as they're not flying the plane, there's no. Okay. You're not. I mean, no. You do have.
I guess they climb the stairs to get onto it.
You climb stairs.
You can't push the button to go up in the lift though.
You could have. I'm sure there's a Gentile that could push the button for them. I'm saying that to give a heter for something that's just dirabbanan, which means it's a rabbinic law, is easier to accomplish, and the ideas of what is saving a life is different. I'll give you an example. According to Jewish law, according to halacha, if a blind woman is giving birth on Shabbat, right? She's blind. She can't see.
Yeah.
Black. She can't see a thing, and she says, "I want more lights on in the room." You can turn the lights on in the room. You could turn on more lights for her, even though she's not going to see the lights. And who knows? But I mean, first of all, I think it could possibly save lives having Ivanka and Jared, with Donald Trump on this trip. If for nothing else, at least, they'll shut off his roaming data plan on his phone and he won't be able to tweet because he would never figure that out. That in and of itself, I'd be willing to take heat in the coming world for. But that's the least of it. The coming here to Israel. I'll tell you this, and this is one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, Brian. These are my predictions as far as, like, what would it take to get me to say, you know what? I was wrong about Trump. What would it take to get me to say, Trump came here and overall, this was a good trip? He's already failing on some of these. One would be the embassy move. If he came here to move the embassy, I still think that that's a wrong move, but at least it would point to him being consistent and would point to him saying something. If he comes here and there's no settlement freeze at the end of it. Now, there's a difference between Bibi standing up and saying, we're making a goodwill move and we're going to freeze settlements while, Donald Trump has convinced the boss to sit down with us at the negotiating table without any previous concessions. And for that, we're going to do that. So if there's no settlement freeze, B, there's no prisoners released from prison, C, I want to hear Trump say in Jerusalem that Jerusalem is the eternal capital of the Jewish people.
Yeah, that I think is bigger than all of the others. I agree. It's
I
very
want
important
him
for
to
us.
say and that Jews have every right to live in Judea and Samaria because it's our ancient ancestral homeland. Those are things
Yeah,
Trump could
agreed.
do that I would actually say, I don't think appointing David Friedman, and now if he appointed Steve Tyler, that would have been different. You see them at the Kotel together. Steve Tyler's 68 years old. He looks like David Friedman's grandson, right? David Friedman's one widowmaker away from, pushing up daisies. It looked like he was taking his grandson Stephen for his bar mitzvah to film the first time at the Kotel in those pictures. But that's not pro-Israel. That's not what I'm looking at. We're sticking David Friedman. We're sending my lawyer. He's a Jew. We're going to get my lawyer over there to be the ambassador. That's not great. Standing up and saying, Donald Trump saying, Jews have every right to live in Judea. It's Judea.
Which is something that Bibi has been saying, and I can imagine
Bibi.
that Trump will mirror that. He will,
think so?
Pacing and leading is the phrase that Scott Adams used in persuasion terms, and in this case, I think he could have been paced and led by Bibi. We'll see. But I agree with you. Those are more important than actual moving of the embassy, for example. The moving of the embassy is on the books in America. The law's passed. He just has to sort of take no action, and it would happen.
Yeah, but he was never intending on moving the
it.
embassy.
I think he was until he hit the State Department. Look, let's look at the State Department. They put out a video.
Who would have known it would be
just
so
before the trip.
difficult?
Correct. They put out one of their videos, and it drew the tiny little map of Israel, and of course it missed out West Bank, Judea, Samaria, Gaza, not that we want that, and Golan. And they've taken that video down this morning. That video's gone. It's been replaced by a still image that's got a better map of Israel that still misses out Golan, but this time it's got Judea, Samaria, and Gaza. So whatever. But what's obviously going on is massive tension between Trump's people, who there are not enough of, and State Department, which is just overrun with Obama and Hillary people. And that's the nature of what we're facing.
What do you think of this? What do you think of this whole thing with the Ford department of the State Department getting into the kerfluffle with Bibi's guys, saying that Bibi cannot accompany Trump to the Western Wall because it's not our territory?
I don't think that, who cares? I think everything that the State Department touches is poison for us.
But it's Trump's guy in charge of the State Department.
Not really, not properly. This is another huge problem. Trump has not had nearly enough appointment.
Right?
Yeah, but
Tillerson
it's a monster.
He's the guy that's in charge.
It's a monster.
All right. So you don't think that now in the end, and this is what I've been most offended by so far, is Donald Trump, right? The platinum-headed clown has told our prime minister he cannot accompany him to the Western Wall. I mean, now we could say all we like about Obama making Netanyahu go in through the back door at the White House. Trump is sending him through the back door in our own house. That's worse. How dare he say you can't come with me? What do you think is the reasoning behind that? Other than it's not really our territory, it's disputed, the Western Wall is disputed territory, the optics will look bad, it will look like we are considering it to be.
Listen, as far as I'm concerned, everything is poisoned by the people who are tasked with setting all this stuff up. They keep leaning on the consulate in Jerusalem, which is just horrific. There's no other way to put this. It's like the Aegean stables. Somebody needs to divert a river through and wash out all the horse manure. That's the State Department. I mean, the British Foreign Office is the same. They're the ones who just kiboshed the idea that there'd be a royal visit to Israel. The State Department in the US, the Foreign and Commonwealth Office in the UK, just completely overrun with Arabs. I mean, they're in that. They must be in seventh heaven watching what's going on in Saudi Arabia, and they must also be in complete and utter terror of what's going to come out of Trump's mouth in a few hours.
I can't wait for that.
I'm looking forward to it.
I cannot wait for that. So let me turn it around to you, Brian. I've said what it would be for me to say that Trump's trip was a success. What would it take for you to say, you know what, Mottle? I think you might be right about Trump. He was here for 48 hours. This guy's not good for Israel.
If he says to the Saudis, we know that you're a religion of peace and it's been perverted, that would be the end of it for me. Israel actually, I think, is secondary to that. If you understand what's going, it's more important what he says.
Saudis are animals. I mean, that's just basic bottom line.
The Americans can't fix our problem. Right. They can't. Nobody can, actually. We can't.
But Trump doesn't know he can't fix our problem. That's the problem. The problem isn't just that Trump is an idiot. The problem is he doesn't realize he's an idiot. And he thinks he's actually really smart. He thinks that he actually can fix this problem.
No.
He said it. What was the exact quote?
If anyone can do the deal,
I can do the deal.
Whatever.
And it's not as hard as people think it's going to be. Those are the statements of somebody who is really lacking in self-awareness.
We'll see. That's all I can say is we'll see. I'm completely and utterly, I'm unable to believe anything I hear in the media. I don't trust them. I don't trust any of the anonymous sources. I don't trust the leakers. I don't trust anything. I wait to see what's going to come out of his mouth. And
do you know who the leakers are? Do you know who the leakers are? Those people, the vast majority of the people that are working in the White House, right? Trump didn't appoint there. He hasn't appointed thousands of positions. So you have all of these positions there, even the ones that he did appoint. Someone take like Nikki Haley, for instance, who, by the way, I think would be, if I had to pick a first choice for president of the United States, I would pick Nikki Haley. People say to me all the time, what, you want Hillary to be president? Of course I didn't want Hillary to be president. Hillary would have been the second worst thing to ever happen to the United States, ever. Nikki Haley, I could see there. I guarantee Nikki Haley thinks Trump's an idiot. I guarantee every night her head is in her hand saying, like, should I be doing this? Am I selling my soul? Am I, this? Trump has zero respect among the people that work with him. So when you have note takers in this room with, with the Russians and Trump, people are spilling beans left and right. People are leaking because they're seeing it as a patriotic duty to leak. I mean, you have things from Washington Post that have like 30 anonymous sources in them. It's not one or two. And then it's proved wrong immediately afterwards. That's not true. Hey, that's not true, Brian. That's not true. That's what Trump says. Well, that's not true. We'll just call it fake news. That's their strategy. Anything that's critical is fake news. Well, again, I can't get excited until Trump actually does something, and he hasn't actually done nothing on Israel. No, and this trip is the first chance for him to actually do or say something. Right. I think substantial. So worst case scenario, worst case scenario is he kisses ass to the Saudis, which it looks like he's doing. Yeah, that's the worst. It could get worse. It could get worse when he actually gets up and gives a speech to them. If he then kisses ass to the Palestinians, that's it. It's over. But I don't think he will. I still don't think he will. Listen, I think I'm going to have to call it a day here because my end's getting quite noisy. People might have heard that. And we'll have more to talk about on Thursday. All right, yeah, let's talk on Thursday and talk about what actually did happen, and we'll see our predictions. So you think, Brian of London, your thoughts are it's going to be a positive trip here. Oh, I still believe so until proven. I'm voting shit show. All right, but we'll know on Thursday. So, folks, tune in back then. Brian, we didn't get to meet being kicked off of Facebook or Nakba Day, we got a lot to cover, man. We got to do this more. All right, brother. Take care, man. Like, share, and subscribe, as they say. My kid said to me as I was putting him to bed the other night, he said, like and subscribe. Brian, do you have a Patreon? Do you have any way that people that like your stuff I don't. Can give you money? You should. You should. Give some money to Mottle, and I'll buy him a beer. And I'll set up a Patreon. Any donations given to my Patreon, patreon.com/RebMottle.
Yeah, mark them as for this show, and we'll come to an arrangement.
Okay, great. All right, folks, take care. Subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching it, whether it's on my channel, Red Mottle, or Brian of London. Follow us on Twitter. I am at Red Mottle on Twitter. Brian John Thomas is...
I am at Brian of
London, and we'll keep discussing what's happening here in the Holy Land with you folks. All right, that's it. We're out.